Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Welcome. You are now entering the Stone Zone. We may be in a new zone of accountability and justice because former CNN anchor Don Lemon, the man my good friend Tucker Carlson calls Don Lemon, was arrested late Thursday night by federal authorities on charges after he joined a left-wing extremist mob that actually descended upon a church in St. Paul, Minnesota during their church services. This is a shocking video if you have not seen it. There's an invasion of radicals from Black Lives Matter that completely disrupt and halt this church service. The children look petrified. It is offensive. It is blasphemous, and it is highly illegal. Lemon shoved a microphone into the worshippers' face and mainstreams their reactions during the disruption, adding to the harassment and an invitation by design. He also interviews all of those who would later assault the church about their plans to do so, and he even kisses one of them goodbye on their way out to carry out this crime. The original charges against in this case, centered on federal statutes protecting the free exercise of religion and safeguarding a house of worship from intimidation and interference. There are laws designed to ensure that Americans can attend church freely and exercise their bedrock to worship, for goodness sake. But Lemon was more than just a journalist, as he was claiming. He was a provocateur. He knew about a crime before it happened, and he didn't report it. But Lemon has had a precipitous fall from his one-time high perch at CNN. He was there on CNN that he said the greatest single problem with today's country was white men. Yes. His ratings there tanked so badly that he basically departed. Then he went into what was supposed to be a very successful and high-profile deal where Elon Musk would, as Tucker Carlson had made the vault from cable to the internet very, very successfully in terms of increasing both his influence and the number of viewers. The idea was that Lemon could do the same. He had a short-lived podcast at X, which was a major flopperoo. But Lemon's actions clearly in Minneapolis or outside Minneapolis cross the line. He was an active agent of this horrific illegal act. Lemon was taken into custody in a very low-key way. I guess 29 heavily armed FBI agents didn't descend on his home at 6 o'clock in the morning. His attorney claims that his attorney said that the government had arranged for Lemon to be arrested. In other words, he turned himself in. They claim, of course, that he was simply doing his job and that invokes his First Amendment, arguing that journalism, as they call it, grants immunity from prosecution. But posing as a journalist as part of an attempt to harass, dox, and threaten worshiping Christians is actually against the First Amendment. This is not legitimate journalism. This is using journalism as a guise to engage in Marxist street thuggery. Initially, a magistrate judge actually refused to approve charges against Lemon, but that was an activist, left-wing, Biden-appointed judge. But however, initially, after that, a federal grand jury, I guess, to follow this closely, returned an indictment saying that prosecutors believe the evidence was strong enough to proceed, and there was a probable cause. What Lemon did was an attack on our fundamental freedoms, and I believe he should be prosecuted as such. He should not be left off with a slap on the wrist. He should not be able to argue that he's immune from prosecution for illegal behavior because he calls himself a journalist. It is an important case. Let's see whether the two-tiered justice system is really over, where those on the left can brazenly violate the law, but people like myself and General Flynn and George Papadopoulos and Donald J. Trump and every member of his family will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, Luigi Mangione will not have to sweat out the death penalty. This is incredible to me, having seen the video of him gunning down a healthcare executive on a street in Manhattan, a video that has probably now been seen millions of times. But a federal judge took the death penalty off the table for Luigi, the man accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in what can only be called a brazen 2024 shooting on the streets of Manhattan. I mean, U.S. District Court Margaret Garnett, of course a Joe Biden appointee, dismissed 2 of the 4 federal charges against Mangione, including murder through the use of a firearm, the count that carried the possibility of capital punishment. The judge ruled that prosecutors failed to meet a highly technical legal standard requiring the murder to occur during another crime of violence, rejecting the government's argument that Mangione's alleged interstate stalking of Thompson qualified him for this charge. We all saw him shoot and kill the man in cold blood, but he, under this loophole from a liberal judge, he won't face the ultimate consequences. In her own words, Judge Garnett acknowledged the outcome, quote, may seem contrary to our intuitions about the criminal law, but claimed that her hands were tied by Supreme Court precedent. Or perhaps she's just a closeted Mangione fangirl. You see, the left has somehow made a hero of a guy who gunned down a healthcare executive, yet no one has been able to find his motive to do so. But the left has seized upon Mangione. He's on T-shirts and hoodies everywhere, somehow as a hero. The judge did allow prosecutors to introduce key evidence seized at the time of Mangione's arrest, including, I guess, fake IDs, a ghost gun, a deranged writing, a booklet attacking the U.S. healthcare system. So that is a clue. But Mangione also faces 9 state charges in New York. So it's not likely that Luigi will be escaping justice. But what would be interesting is to find out whether he acted alone. Oftentimes, when we're introduced to these lone nut gun assassin theories, those who are apprehended under bizarre circumstances like, Lee Harvey Oswald, even though the story doesn't really quite add up, James Earl Ray. So it's doubtful we'll ever get any answers during these court proceedings. But I point out that when you have these bizarre things, both James Earl Ray and Lee Harvey Oswald appear to me later to be fall guys, and we don't discover who else they were involved with. It is interesting that Mangione could be a patsy, inspiring other leftists to wage war with the capitalist system and romanticizing the notion of left-wing terrorism worldwide. The MK Ultra program, which we know was employed extensively by the CIA, experimenting with wild mind control. And the first word of the MK Ultra program that was credible, leaked out, it was during the presidency of Richard Nixon, and Richard Helms, the then CIA director, had all records in federal possession regarding MK Ultra and its very weird experimental parameters. But there are many who believe, based on what is now known about that program and the tendencies of those who are under the control of MK Ultra, that Sirhan, the man who was ultimately charged and convicted in the murder of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Sr., father of the current Secretary of Health and Human Services, who is among the standouts in President Trump's cabinet, who's doing an amazing job getting dangerous additives out of our food, toxins out of our food, things that are illegal to put in food in Europe but are not in the United States, and getting some of these dangerous dyes that they're giving us out of our food, changing the childhood vaccination schedule to be more reasonable and safer for Americans. Doing an amazing job taking on big pharma. But even in those assassinations, the guy they grabbed right away didn't do it. In this case, in the video age, we have this video of Luigi, and we don't know where it goes. Very exciting today. The president nominated Kevin Warsh to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, signaling the soon end of the reign of Jerome Too Late Powell. Powell disgraced himself at the end of his era, even though he was originally a Republican. In order to try to get Joe Biden over the finish line, the Federal Reserve cut rates when the two leading indicators on which they, by law, are supposed to be basing their decision is the unemployment rate and the inflation rate. And they cut rates deeply for Joe Biden, and he still couldn't stumble through a race, and he ultimately pulled out. But now the inflation rate and the unemployment rate are even lower under President Donald Trump, and America needs a much deeper interest rate cut. Warsh is no stranger to the job. That's the good news. He's a Trump man. He previously served as a Federal Reserve governor from 2006 to 2011. He was actually the youngest Fed governor in U.S. history at 35 years old. He is a boy wonder. Warsh brings the academic credentials, but he's made some money. He's got real world financial experience that I think is necessary for the job. He's currently a distinguished fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institution, one of the still more conservative elements at Stanford. He's a lecturer at Stanford's Graduate School of Business. He's a partner at the Dubois family office alongside the legendary investor Stanley Druckenmiller. So he serves as senior economic advisor to Druckenmiller, served as a senior economic advisor in the Bush White House, and he represented the Federal Reserve at the G20 during the global financial crisis. So he really does seem like the man for the job. And we get that interest rate cut after the tax cut we got in the big, beautiful bill and record low inflation. Watch this economy fly. I'll be right back.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.